Welcome to Impact by DIFFA Dallas, the official podcast of the Dallas chapter of the Design Industries Foundation Fighting AIDS. We'll share valuable info about the fight against HIV and AIDS, what our organization is doing to assist those in our community, and most importantly, how you can help us make a real impact.
Welcome to Impact. I'm your host, Victoria Snee, for today's episode, and I'm so excited because we're going to be talking about one of our signature events that DIFFA Dallas does every year, Burgers Burgundy. Super excited. It's coming up. It's going to be here soon. And of course, the man who created Burgers Burgundy, the man who needs no introduction, the great Chef John Tesar is here with us for the show. Thank you so much for being here, John.
Well, thank you for having me, and don't forget Terry.
Terry Provençal, of course.
It's 11 years now. We couldn't do it without Terry. So
absolutely.
She'll get very mad at me.
I'm glad you brought her up. And then, of course, one of our fabulous co-chairs for the event this year, Robert Lee, is here as well. Super excited. I know you guys have just really turned it up for this year, and a new venue. I mean, it's going to be really, really exciting.
Yeah, like John, I'd like to give a shout out to my other co-chair, Christopher Baker.
Yes.
And he's done an amazing job, including coming up with our new theme this year.
Which is?
It's Feather Fete, which is basically a little party with accessorizing with feathers. So you can go as grand as you want, or just, have little accents here and there.
Well, so yeah, you can't show up this year.
I can't wait to see this.
But isn't that just DIFFA, John?
No,
I mean, it has to have feathers.
It's amazing. I've been working for DIFFA since the 80s, and I came out of that period where it was really devastating for a lot of people. And I was in New York City, and I had a restaurant in the Hamptons, and a lot of my clientele were in the fashion business, hairdressers. I went out with them. I was the only straight man in a French restaurant for a really, really long time. So I went to these places, in New York City, the bars and the places where people gathered, and I saw the devastation. So I've just been, it hit me personally. And then if that wasn't enough, I knew Allie Gertz, who was allegedly the first heterosexual woman to die of AIDS. So it was very near and dear to me, and it's something I'll just never forget. So to continue to be able to do this is really meaningful, and I'm blessed to be able to do that. So I'm glad that Burgers Burgundy can help a little bit.
Oh, absolutely. And the event itself, too, John, has just evolved so much over the years. I mean, I remember we were actually on Style Council together in 2009, and I remember when you came up with the idea for Burgers Burgundy as really your way of giving back to being on Style Council and to DIFFA.
It was, Mark Stafford, the rascal that he is. We were in the Mansion Bar one night with Liz Wimpris, I think Trish Ballone, and they were like, "You should be on Style Council." And I was like, "Okay."
Did you even know what Style Council was?
I had no idea what it was. So then when I went through the rigors of it, I realized that I had to make a contribution, and I wasn't going to ask the Hunt family or some wealthy family. So I got with Terry, who was at the time the editor of Modern Luxury magazine, and I said, "Why don't we do an event to raise money for my portion of the Style Council?" And Terry got a house, I guess a spec house somewhere in Preston Hollow at the time. It was a mansion. And we just put on a party in the backyard, and I had Tim Love and a couple of, a lot of different chefs from around town. It was such a success that we've just continued to do it since then. So this is year 11.
Wow. I mean, it really has just evolved so much. And thinking about it, going from the backyard of a fabulous mansion, which is wonderful and super fun, but now Clyde Warren Park for this year, Robert. I mean, Clyde Warren Park for this event, that's going to bring in a lot of people.
I mean, it's got an amazing backdrop of the Dallas skyline. It's much more open. In the past, we have 11 chefs that are coming all together. So it's going to be amazing. And lastly, we have the little after party at Savor, which is just next door.
Wow. That's going to be really, really incredible. And the caliber of chefs, of course, John, our signature chef for the event. But tell us about some of you've brought in chefs, really, John, through your connections from all over the country for this event.
I have over the years.
Yeah.
This year we have Jim Smith from Alabama. He's going to have a brand new restaurant in Mobile. He was on Top Chef with me.
Okay.
So, a lot of people maybe not know him in Dallas, but I want to get him out in the spotlight. And he's a great guy, funny. And I'm bringing Josh Smith back from Boston, Massachusetts, who's an amazing charcuter, has a couple of restaurants, and that's all we're bringing this year because we've been really busy, and some of my other friends are opening restaurants. But these guys are amazing, and a lot of local chefs who have done it over the years. Sharon Van Meter, Samir from Nick and Sam's, Blaine Sanford from, we have a little Fort Worth, and I'll go on and on. But there's a lot of chefs, and they're all friends, and it's a great party. And I think it's a prime example of it's not competitive. It's not about who did the best burger or who's the best chef. It's just got people getting together to have a great time and raise some money for a good cause. And that's what I really like about Burgers and Burgundy the best.
Yeah, absolutely. And so if someone hasn't been, kind of talk a little bit about, it is basically all these top chefs from all over that are creating different kinds of burgers and sliders.
I mean, it's an amazing event in the sense that it's really social, and there's always great entertainment. There's always great people watching. And very interesting, very intelligent, articulate people. I love the crowd that's really come to Burgers and Burgundy over the years because they're people who care. They're people who have been in the community for a long time. And then we want more. The reason why we're doing it in Clyde Warren Park this year, we want more people to come. Even if you don't even know what DIFFA is, you can come and have great hamburgers from 11 amazing chefs with Burgundy, with beer, with cocktails, with entertainment. And like I said, people watching. And it is all for a great cause. So
yeah. I mean, it really is a really signature event and kind of kicks off our season for DIFFA. And tell me what else that you guys have planned this year that's going to be a little bit different, because I know that there's a VIP experience.
Yeah, what is the gala? I want to know what the gala is about.
So we do have a VIP experience for those who want to participate. We have a limited number of tickets. It's $300, but you will be in the center of the park, and you will actually have servers that will come bring you the different burgers and sliders from all the different chefs, and be able to interact with some of the chefs while they're taking their breaks. So that's one thing that's different. Secondly, we're also doing a wine pool. So this is a food event, and we definitely want to showcase a bunch of nice wines. And so you'll have an opportunity to do a wine pool and hopefully choose some fabulous wines. And then lastly, we're going to also feature a bunch of restaurants in Dallas that you can buy a gift certificate for and be able to contribute back to DIFFA.
That's awesome.
Excellent.
And so do you know what you're cooking already? Have you decided? Do you change it every year, John?
I wait to the last minute. But we'll probably do one of our signature burgers like we always do. I mean, one year when I had Spoon, I did a catfish sloppy joe, and I think we'll stick with the Ozerski or maybe the pimento burger again this year because people just love them. So
yeah, and some of the others. I mean, how do you guys kind of talk it out and who's going to do what, or how does it work?
I never step on another chef's thoughts. And this is really good about this event because. It started with Friedman's Meats, but 44 Farms directly now donates all of the necessities for the chef. And Terry goes out and really, talks to Metters or Benny Keith or all the people that donate to us every year. And every chef just puts in a list of demands. And basically Terry goes out and meets the needs. And that's amazing because they can come and do whatever they want. And we do. I think there is a vast variety of burgers. We don't do a lot of repetition. And then everybody comes with their own little signature style.
Yeah. And I love that the feather that you mentioned, Robert, the feather that it is this year. So how do you incorporate that into your wardrobe, or what are we
No,
should
we're
be
thinking
doing?
It could be anything from just a feather in your hat. It could be something that you wear as a little statement, as a brooch or a necklace. I've seen some pictures people are coming up with some fabulous collars. So,
oh gosh! See, now I'm going to be stressed out about what's my feather going to look like for this event, because you have to step it up to any DIFFA event, right? What you're going to wear.
You could tell I'm goofy because when I think of feathers, I think of that Bugs Bunny episode where Elmer Fudd blows away Daffy Duck, and he's got all of his feathers in his hand, and he goes, "Fortunately, on such occasions, my feathers are numbered." So maybe I'm just going to have a whole pile of feathers in my hand.
That totally works. Absolutely. So you mentioned, John, several great sponsors, and you all have some other ones too, Robert, that we need to mention, because without these sponsors, I mean, really, this event, it just wouldn't happen. So I want to make sure we give them some shout outs.
So John already mentioned about 44 Farms, who's providing all the proteins. Empire Baking Company is providing all of the buns. Diageo is providing all the spirits. And then we also have a gelato dessert, which is being sponsored by Botolino Gelato.
Ooh, gelato. Awesome. That's nice. That's
and
new.
And then actually Impeccable Brut Rosé. which
Fantastic.
they've always been long-term sponsors of ours.
That's awesome. And of course, you can go to our website, difffadallas.org, to get
Absolutely.
tickets, because tickets are on sale now. So we're really, really excited. October 11th, 6:30 it starts at Clyde Warren Park. Probably Uber, I think, would be
I would suggest Ubering.
the best way to go. So we want everyone to get their tickets. And, that's the thing with DIFFA is our events. If you haven't been to one of our events, you have to go. I mean, they really are such a great experience, and they're welcoming to everyone, and it's just always a great time.
I think the energy level at DIFFA is much different than any other event I've ever gone to, because there's so many interesting, exciting people who have these bold, vivid personalities.
Yes.
And that's what really makes, for me, that's what makes a party, because you cannot be boring and a wallflower in that environment. You have to come out and really experience it. So it's much more than hamburgers and wine, for sure.
Yeah, and the people watching, like you said.
I love the people. And with the feathers this year, maybe someone's going to take off.
I think it's just the sky is the limit with the feathers, for sure. Well, John, I want to know too, you, of course, are, top chef. You're a nationally known chef, probably internationally known chef. You always have something exciting going on, and you have a couple of projects that we were talking about earlier that are really, really exciting. So we want to know what's new.
I'm laughing because I'm pinching myself at this point in my life. I came to Dallas 13 years ago. I replaced the legendary Dean Ferring at the Mansion. And it was a very magical time in my life and my career, and I think for Dallas as well. It was like the last of that old Dallas. Dallas has changed quite a bit in the last 10 years or so. But, being the most hated chef, being on Top Chef, having the commissary, Cedar Social, having been very confusing in my career, I went on Top Chef and we did Spoon, and it was a mind-blowing success. Mm-hmm. However, we were flying fish from both coasts. It was very expensive. Mm-hmm. So now Knife comes along. Behringer Harvard gives me 214 at was then the Palomar Hotel, and we turned it around, and it's been a 6-year success story. And from that, other hotels now are asking us, or asking me to do other projects. So we're going to open up in Laguna Beach. I'm bringing Spoon back. I'm renaming it Outer Reef, because it sits at the Marriott Cliffs Resort, right at the border of Dana Point and Laguna. Mm-hmm. And it looks out over the marina at Dana Point, and you're really looking out at the Outer Reef, so I thought it was very appropriate. It's going to be a beautiful restaurant.
Wow.
You can sit on the patio and watch the sunset over the Pacific Ocean and eat great seafood. We will have some dried steaks. And I'm also very lucky. I have a Ritz-Carlton now in Grand Lakes, Orlando, Florida. And it's going to be a combination of Knife and Spoon. We're replacing what used to be Norman Van Aken's at that resort.
Is that going to be one restaurant, or it's two different?
No, it's one restaurant.
One restaurant,
They wanted to tie it in. It was weird, Knife and Spoon, but I said, okay, let's do it.
Yeah.
And I found that after restaurants open, if they have good food, you don't even remember the name. It's like you just go there.
Yes.
So and it's at a Ritz, so I'm like really, I tease Dean now. I said, I have a Ritz-Carlton too now. I've come full circle. But it's really a blessing, and there are other people come to me all the time for these opportunities. So, to be 61 years old, to still be very youthful.
You're 61 years old.
I'm 61 years old, yeah. It's crazy.
Okay, this does not look like 61 years old. Wow.
Just to that, thank you.
As much as you've been through, too, John, with all of your experiences. And being a chef, that is an intense
I'm blessed. I'm a blessed
career.
human being. That's why it's time to give back even more. And as these places open, hopefully they're successful. I spend the rest of my life being a dad and being philanthropic, I hope, and getting far away from the restaurant business after I'm done with this.
Thinking back to that time when you were, taking over for, at the Mansion, you just became an instant household name in this town. That must have been must have been a little overwhelming too.
Yeah, Dean
it was,
imagine this. First replacing Dean, there was a competition. I beat out quite a number of chefs, including Bruno, who replaced me after I left. But I think that the most interesting part about it, and God rest his soul, T. Boone Pickens passed away last night at 91. But I walked into the Mansion, and these were the people that greeted me. T. Boone, Jerry Jones, Alan White, you name it. And then it goes on in Dallas. And, at that time, it was like you met all the Dallas Cowboys, you met all the Mavericks. It's like
everybody.
I was injected into Dallas society, and socialites and all of these oil magnates and billionaires. At one night I did dinner for Ross Perot, T. Boone Pickens, Jerry Jones, Alan White, And I think, in the dining room, we were some of the Bush family.
Oh my gosh.
Or I've done like literacy campaigns with Big Daddy Bush.
Yeah.
And it was amazing because the first year I was super nervous. And that family is so amazing. Forget about politics, just amazing people. But I had a girlfriend once, and I lived at Yale for a semester. So the second year, I wasn't so afraid as I was the first year. So we always take a photo opportunity, and I'm standing there with President Bush. And he goes, "How you doing, John?" And you're settling into the mansion. I'm nervous talking to the President of the United States.
Gosh.
I shake his hand again, and I said, we have something in common, Mr. President. And he goes, "What's that, John?" I said, we both went to Yale. And he goes, "What year did you graduate?" And I said, "I didn't really graduate." And he goes, "What happened?" He goes, "I was waiting for Skull and Bones to tap me, and when it didn't happen, I had to drop out." And I literally cracked the man up. It was a great moment in my life.
Oh, yeah.
But the mansion creates those kind of like powerful moments. Like we would cook for presidents and kings and queens, and everybody in the world was in the mansion bar. So, I missed that, and it really made my career here in town. I'll never forget that, in the Hunt family, and Bob Ballone, who's no longer with us, and John Scott and the Rosewood guys that hired me, because it really has changed the path of my life. So.
Wow. Well, I mean, I remember that. I mean, it was like front page news.
Oh, it was. And when I left, it's a long, sordid story. I don't want to tell it today, but, I went to Miami and I did an event, and we had an agreement they weren't going to talk about my leaving, and the HR director didn't like something I did, and it was right on the cover of the Dallas Morning News. I still have it at home. It's like, "Chef of the mansion leaves," and I was like, "Okay, nice, that's good to know." I was in Miami Beach going, "Well, I'm leaving the mansion. Very nice."
Well, there you go. You found out that way.
Politics.
Politics. Well, we're so appreciative, John, of everything that you do with Burgers and Burgundy, and just being involved with DIFFA and helping us raise so much money every year with this event.
All the people involved with DIFFA, Clint and the people have been doing it for years and years and years, and with heart and soul, and they live for that gala, and they run it, and they're very professional, and I think everybody that's really passionate, and like I said, it's a group of interesting, a very dynamic, diverse group of people who are here to support something very meaningful. So
Absolutely.
Thank you for that.
Yeah.
And of course, give a shout out, Robert, to people to get them to come. What would you say to people that have never been, of course, or have been and want to come back?
I mean, for me, it was my first time ever, and it was just an incredible night. Like John said, just so much great food and a lot of fun. One shout out I do want to say is the VIP experience is being sponsored by Southwest Funding. Mm-hmm. And we actually, for everyone that comes, you will have John's latest book, and potentially interact with him and get a signature.
Well, I'm going to get my VIP ticket today.
Good to know. Thank you for that.
You didn't know about that either? Did you just find out?
I think I heard rumors about it. It's Allie from Strauss told me the other day or something like that. But
I love it.
I've really been so busy. I need an assistant. Anybody out there want to be an assistant?
John needs
it pays okay.
And I can guarantee it will never be a dull moment.
Never a dull moment.
Never a dull moment. Well, thank you guys so much for being on the podcast with us today. And we're super excited about Burgers and Burgundy. You've got to come, get your ticket, difffadallas.org. You get to see John in action and all of the great chefs that you mentioned. It's going to be amazing. So we really, really appreciate it and hope everyone comes and supports. And thank you guys for listening. And hopefully we'll see you at Burgers and Burgundy. Thanks.